Well, it might be an off day for the Commanders on Wednesday, but if you're a fan of the NFL, you know the headlines never stop. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. Yes, the boys are off today, but that doesn't mean that we have an awful lot to talk about in today's video. Yet another Terry McLaurin update. I promise if I had more news to bring you, I would. But when the team's not practicing and there's no other major stories going on, you're going to get some more Terry stuff. But we do have new insights, potential new developments in the contract negotiations. So that is pretty cool. Also, Jayden Daniels and Terry, have they been holding secret practices? One insider says yes, they have. And Josh Harris already up $1.5 billion on the Commanders franchise, even though he just bought the team. We are about to get into all of that and a whole lot more. But guys, before we do, make sure you hit the like button if you want to support the content. Drop your comments as we go throughout this video, whether it's my reporting or the facts that I'm sharing that have been reported, or it's just my opinions. Go to the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on all of that. And subscribe. Join the fastest growing community in Commanders Nation. So let's start, as promised, with the Terry update. Once again, guys, this is not meant to be clickbait or anything like that, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. Every time I talk about Terry, I try to bring a new angle to it. We have a new article from ESPN's Keim today, who indicated that league sources have told him the Commanders could be willing to increase their offer to $28 million average annual value with $50 to $60 million in guaranteed money. Obviously, the benefit for higher guarantees, well, the trade-off will be you'll probably take a less average annual value, but more guarantees obviously more money. And when you're a soon-to-be 30-year-old receiver whose extension will begin during your age 31 season, that guaranteed money is obviously very lucrative and in some cases can be very hard to come by. Now, the Commanders are a very analytics-driven franchise. You've seen that represented in not just a lot of their moves, but look at how they've drafted. Look at the prospects they've gone after. They haven't so much cared about the production, more so what's the athletic profile and how can we mold you? Again, very analytics-driven thinking from the front office there. The analytics will tell you that receivers fall off a cliff more times than not when they get to the age 30 season. Terry, what he's got working in his favor is he's never suffered major injuries. To my knowledge, am I wrong in saying that he's never had a big surgery or a surgery at all? Let me know in the comment section if I am wrong, but I can't remember one. So there's not a massive, his body hasn't been under strain and had to rebound from that. He's also only played 6 professional seasons, so he's not put a ton of miles on his body. And I guess one of the benefits for him during these negotiations of missing the playoffs all those years is he never really got to play that deep into the postseason, obviously, until this last year. So that is all working in Terry's favor. The Commanders are coming back, looking at it objectively. Again, the age is still the age, and his average yards per game last year, receiving yards per game, was the 3rd lowest of his career. So they're going to be looking at that as well. But then the counter argument to that is, well, Jayden Daniels was spraying the ball around the field. He didn't need to lean into one receiver, whereas the Commanders in past iterations of the team really needed to focus on Terry. So there are good points to be made by both sides. I went ahead and I went to overthecap.com, who's got some great insights and tools that you can use. One of those is called the Fitzgerald-Spilberger Evaluation. Essentially what this does is it can tell you what is the average annual value of a contract given to a player at a certain position relative to a draft pick. So for example, if you use the 47th pick to draft a tight end, this evaluation tool will say the average annual value for that player's contract after their rookie deal, is, let's just say, $6.2 million per year. I'm totally making that up, but it gives you a number. So I went ahead and I used that tool and I wanted to plug it in to see what it came up with for Terry McLaurin's value. His current contract, that $23 million average annual value, is worth about the 10th pick in the draft. And Terry, we think, is going to get closer to 30 than that 23 number. So that would indicate it would be a pick of even more value. Now, you obviously have to weigh into this that Terry is going to be 30 years old. And also there is inflation. Every year as the cap goes up, the salaries go up. So the number that you're getting from this evaluation isn't always going to give you a very clear cut. It's not going to match exactly what you're looking for, but at the very least, it gives us an indication that Terry is worth about a first round pick. I think that's what we can say. I don't know this. I haven't really seen reporting on what exact proposals to the Commanders have been, but I'm going to take a guess that teams are not offering a first round pick because Terry, even though he's a great player, he's not someone who's going out and he's not having a Derrick Henry impact where even though Derrick Henry was 31 yards, he just had 31 years old. Sorry. Even though Derrick Henry's 31 years old, he just had 1,900 rushing yards. You're not getting that equivalent from Terry. I would assume you're getting a second round pick. And this is when the conversation about his age comes into it. If you're taking a lesser theoretical value, but you're getting to move in the direction of a 22, 23-year-old versus a 30-year-old, how does that weigh into it? I don't have the math set up. I don't know the answer to that, but just thought it would be cool to give you a little look at what the value of the draft picks would be. And again, it seems as if Terry, at least for the short term, is worth a first-round draft pick. So in theory, if the Commanders don't get that from another team, then they are right to keep him, assuming they eventually agree to a contract and that contract does not hamstring them for the long term. Now, some really cool news here from Lynnell Willingham of 106.7 The Fan. And this is what you saw on the thumbnail. It seems as if Jayden Daniels and Terry McLaurin have been throwing together every day in the bubble. That's what he's heard. The bubble is out there at the practice facility. So they're getting some reps in behind closed doors, not in a team practice environment, which makes sense. You're a lot less likely to suffer an injury just going and running routes and catching passes from your quarterback. But this is a great sign that those two are not just resting on their laurels and thinking to themselves, yeah, we had this great connection last year and we're going to be just fine. No, they're still actively sharpening their iron. They're staying in communication. They're still friends. They're still working together. And also tip the hat to Jayden Daniels, because as we know, this guy gets to the facility at 4 or 5 in the morning every day. He's there working early. He's the best player on the team. He's being a leader during practice, and now he might be staying late to get in reps with his quarterback or his receiver. This is everything you want to see from your franchise quarterback. And even though he's only 24 years old right now, the way Jayden carries himself, it's trendy online to make fun of his mom because she's always following him around and saying that he can't date other women. But his parents did a phenomenal job raising him. And you can tell just from how he carries himself, his professionalism, his mannerisms, his humility, the way he speaks about his friends, also his opponents. He's just a great guy, and he's a great leader for this team. And we should all feel very blessed to have him for hopefully the next 15 to 20 years. Now let's talk about some big bucks here. Josh Harris, the billionaire owner who bought the Commanders for a then record $6.05 billion 2 years ago. Well, Sportico, who does great stuff with the numbers in sports, whether it be contracts or in this case, team valuations, they came out with their numbers for every team in the league. The Commanders checked in at 10th in total value at $7.47 billion. So in those 2 years that Josh Harris has been over, not only has the team ended its 30-year streak of not getting to the conference championship, not only have they are they on the doorstep of getting the deal agreed in place to move back to the RFK site, but they've already increased their value by $1.5 billion. When this team is actually back in DC, assuming everything goes swimmingly at that September vote with the DC City Council, when they're back and they've got this new stadium, and if Jayden Daniels continues to play like an MVP, even wins an MVP, the team has playoff success, this is going to be an incredible business investment. And while I'm not saying that you should be deeply concerned about the finances of a billionaire, what I'm saying still is that if he is making money, well, he's more likely to reinvest it into the team. So while we don't really care if Josh Harris has $6 or $7 billion in his pocket, the more money he makes, the better it is for the overall health of the franchise, because you have more money to reinvest into locker rooms, and maybe that attracts free agents, and maybe the free agents help you win. And once you're winning, players are more likely to take discounts to join your team. It all goes hand in hand, and you're seeing that pay off in this Sportico evaluation there. I wanted to close off the video, rather, not start off, wanted to close off the video looking at the depth chart once again, because we're coming up on the 53-man roster deadline. There are only 2 weeks until the final cuts are due. And I want to call this the Dom Hampton variable. Rest in peace to Dom Hampton. Not actually dead, but no longer with the Commanders. I didn't see his release coming. Now, he did not play well in that first preseason game, but because he didn't play last year, because he was a draft pick last year, because he was converting positions, I thought that there were going to be growing pains. It would be a work in progress, and they would at least give him until the end of the preseason. The Commanders, they were cutthroat. They said, no, we don't see a future. You're gone. So I want to evaluate if there are any other players who are at risk of becoming the next Dominique Hampton. I went through the roster. I'll be honest, I didn't find anybody. The 2 players who I pointed out who could maybe be in the closest to danger, Jordan Magee and Javonte Jean-Baptiste. Now, here's what I would have to say about both of them. Just like I believed in Dom Hampton's potential, and that didn't work out, I believe in Jordan Magee's potential. I think his ability to learn from Bobby Wagner, get the mental side there, but then also have the natural athleticism, the 4.4, 4.5, 40-yard dash, the tackling range, the instincts, the physicality. He has the tools to be a good player. The problem is he can't get on the field. He barely played last year, if at all. And then this preseason, he missed the first game because he's banged up and he's not been practicing. He wasn't in the scrimmage the other day. He wasn't in the joint practice. At some point, you've got to get on the field. And on one hand, the lack of game film does mean the Commanders are less likely to cut him because he's not actively making mistakes in the way that Dom Hampton was in that preseason game. But at the same time, the best ability in sports is availability. And if you can't get on the field, why would I keep you on my team? That's definitely going to be weighing in the back of the minds of the Commanders' decision makers. So if we get to the end of the preseason and Jordan Magee doesn't play at all, I would start to feel a little concerned that he might not be on the team. A guy I believe in, but someone who could be at risk. And then Javonte Jean-Baptiste. I put him there because I was trying to find someone to answer this question. I'll be honest, I don't think he's at risk of being cut right now, but he was a 7th-round draft pick last year. We have just seen there's a proof that the Commanders are willing to cut a 2024 draft pick. Now, what I'll say in his defense is Dan Quinn has said his name a couple of times during the offseason, said that he feels his presence a little bit more, feels like the game reps and second year in the NFL, first real offseason. He's been able to match some of the skill side and the mental side of his game to his natural athleticism. So I would like to see more of him in the preseason games. He played well at times last year, and he's a 7th-round pick. There aren't the natural expectations of a day 1, day 2 pick where if you don't play well after the first year or the second year, you're gone. No, you expect a 7th-round pick to take time, develop, and grow into a role. So we will see how he does. And also, I want to see what happens in this Bengals game, because I could come back and I could look at Jordan Magee, Jean-Baptiste, whoever, like anyone else on the roster. After this Bengals game, I could say, wow, I thought you did really poorly. And we saw what happened when Dominique Hampton played really poorly in preseason week 1. He was cut immediately thereafter. So I don't think I'll do a full 53-man roster preview, but just like I'm going to do for every game throughout this season, whether that be preseason, regular season, playoffs, Super Bowl, if the team gets there, I'm going to be coming out with my game reaction after, and I will make sure to pinpoint players who stand out for good reasons and for bad reasons. So make sure that you are subscribed to the channel for that, along with my daily uploads. Hit the like button if you did enjoy this video. Go to the comment section, leave your thoughts on everything I said. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.